on too.
Right.
Hey,
Jurassic just got on.
that's like, you guys are both, Tisha and you, Tisha and you are sight for sore eyes.
Oh,
Boy, are they ever. Boy, are they ever.
Who's that talking?
that's Mary.
Lori.
I know I see Lori, but someone just made a comment.
Oh, my video's not on?
Mary?
Oh, I'm sorry. This will shock you because I just kind of rolled out of bed.
Mary, hi.
Hi.
There you are, girl.
Yeah.
Melissa, I think we're good. I'll call you if I need anything else.
Thank you, Melissa.
Alrighty, bye. So as long as you can see and hear Tisha and I think we're good. And
Oh,
we'll just
and
let more people join us.
and her assistant, Tisha has an assistant.
I have an assistant today.
Is that your model?
Camera time.
So funny.
Knows a lot, you guys. She's very wise.
I'm gonna move some things around because I have a garden tower in the back that has a lot of light. I don't want that to get into so I'll be right back.
Okay.
How are you, Mary? Where are you at, girl, in the world?
Well, I'm retired. I'm in Paso Robles.
You're still in Paso Robles.
I'm
Same
still-
house?
Pardon?
Same house?
Well, no, were you at my house?
Yeah.
Oh,
With all the
yeah.
land.
Oh, man, I see, I forget about how many people came out there. No, I finally sold that because my husband died in 2010. I can't remember if I saw you then. Anyway, I finally sold that 25 acres of work and I bought a little house in town and remodeled it. So I'm a city
Nice.
slicker now.
You're a city slicker now. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
And
Though.
I put in cement and then some plants with DG. I'm doing as few weeds as possible.
Good.
Mhm.
Oh, that sounds nice. It's nice to be in the city where everything's convenient and not
It is,
isolated.
for my age, I love it. I'm close
Yeah.
to the store and
Yeah. Aw.
staying home like everybody my age is kind of doing.
Yeah.
Hey,
you have-
oh,
Huh?
go ahead.
Do you have nice walks out there?
Oh, yeah. Well, we have a beautiful street. We can walk down Vine Street, just right to my house. I just take off and go down and it's all the old Victorian homes and
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's really a beautiful walk. And then we turn and go up a big old hill.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. And then it turns into more country, a little more country.
Yeah.
We see a lot of deer.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Hey, Dr. Aguilar, how's your new baby doing?
He was just in the background. I don't know if you saw him or heard him. He's downstairs now, but he's good. He'll be 3.
No.
Yeah, 3 years old.
Wow.
Very second.
Oh, I thought he'd only be like a year and a half. Time flies
Yeah.
when you're having fun.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
It's
Yeah, he
beautiful.
just doesn't. He doesn't.
Oh, no, go ahead. Let me give you a towel. So you can, just a minute.
One, two, okay. But yeah, no, everything's good. I'm actually in North Idaho right now. So,
Oh,
yeah,
been
yeah,
there?
Okay,
I've been
there
here.
you go. Okay.
Yeah, I've been here for 3 months, and so things are, much more quieter. Speaking of deer, we have moose coming in and out of our property.
I bet you do.
So,
Those are big.
so my view right now is of a lake and a mountain with pine trees and snow.
Oh, that's
Terrible.
beautiful.
It's-
How's
it's-
your son?
Nico's good. He's back in school. So he's finishing his first semester back. So he'll finish. I think this time next year he'll be done, and then he's going to naturopathic school up in Bastyr.
Oh, cool.
Washington. So about 4 hours.
Oh, it'll be DNA and sun.
Yeah, well, he's way ahead of where I was at his age. So I call him sometimes more for advice.
Oh, wow.
All the chemistry and biology is fresh in his brain, and for me, like, I forgot more than I remember. So yeah, he's good. He's back in the saddle. Slowly but surely. It's been two years September that he had that debilitating heat stroke, and left him with a lot of metabolic issues. And so, but he's been slowly. The thing that's helped him the most of everything is the keto diet. So he's been super diligent about fat, and that's helped him a lot with his brain and things like that. So
Good.
yeah, but he's good. He's actually coming in 10 days to spend the holidays. So good. Yeah. So we'll wait a few more minutes, and
Yeah, I
go
thought,
from there.
I was hoping my daughter would join us.
Mhm.
Some people are having trouble logging in
Hmm.
with the one that was
Link
sent.
is working, yeah. So thank you for sending me the ID.
Hi, Naz. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. This is Naz, everybody. Thank you for
Hi.
joining us.
How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm in Dallas, Texas. Nice weather.
Alice. That's good. Nice weather.
Very nice weather. It's a little cold for us, but it's like it's not that cold. 60s,
Good.
50s and 60s, yeah. It's nice.
Good. And then we have Heidi that just joined. You guys can unmute for now. We can have a conversation and
everybody.
get started. Hi.
I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi, girl.
Hi, Peggy.
My daughter just moved to Salem, South Carolina. They wanted to move to North Carolina and they couldn't find a house in the area where her husband's working.
Okay. Well, I don't know where that is, but it's got to be close somewhere. I'm right on the South Carolina border.
Mhm.
She is, but she's way over by, I don't know any of the big, there, she's almost on the corner of where the the four states meet.
Oh,
She's over, anyway,
yeah, I don't know.
she's in West Carolina.
Okay.
We have a few other people that joined. Hi, Kelly, Dorina, Julie.
I just have to press.
Serena can't
space
hear
it
us
that
for
way
some
and hand
reason.
it to-
Serena, is your microphone on? Or I wonder why she can't hear us,
Hmm.
or we can't hear her. I don't know. I'm gonna ask Lisa what. Maybe her volume is down, Tarina?
That's right.
Hi, Olivia.
Hi. I'm
Water.
like doing stuff while I'm here. Have so many sheets
Okay.
to fold. How are you?
I can't hardly hear.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Mary.
Hi, I miss you guys.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Yep, hanging in there.
How's your other half doing?
He's fine. So he got the COVID virus and he got tested. It was very mild, but because I do hands-on, he got tested and he tested positive. But I've had 2 negatives and I did the antibody test and that's completely negative in all 3 categories. So I think it's your vitamin D.
Yeah, I mean,
I OD'd on it.
80% of people that get severe COVID are vitamin D deficient. only 13% that get COVID with severe symptoms are not vitamin D deficient. And these are facts. These are out of everything that has come up on either side. This is the research is just duplicating itself. It just keeps coming up. Vitamin D is it's a key component in immune function. I'll talk a little bit about the immune today in regards to the subject we're talking about. And vitamin D is one of those substances that
Winston wants to join us.
it does not overreact. It doesn't overstimulate your immune system like a lot of things that people take. People take a lot of immune factors right now, like echinacea, golden seal, all these other things. And what it's really doing, oil of oregano, and these things are just really pumping up your immune system. Not necessarily modulating it, but just making it even more active.
Okay.
It's important to realize that if anyone has any autoimmune symptoms, any autoimmune conditions like arthritis or psoriasis or IBS or anything inflammatory, and you take those things, it's only going to make it worse. So I'll talk a little bit about, the vitamin D component. That's super important, especially in winter,
Can I ask you this, Dr. Aguilar? So I had blood work done, and she told me to stop taking vitamin D because it's so off the charts high, but I overdid it this summer.
Yeah.
And well, through this whole the first 6 months of COVID. And so it's super, super high. So she told me to stop taking that. So that was 2 months ago. Do you think that's?
Yeah, start taking. I mean, again, it's relative, right? I mean, they're looking at clinical ranges, which is vitamin D range in blood work is 30 to 90, right? That's their range. So most people fall around 30 because it just can't read it any lower than that. But you could be like minus 30, but it's always going to read around 30. That's like the sort of like where they start. Now, what's high? What's high to them is not functionally high to me and some of the other functional practitioners. So,
but if it's 900, it's high, right?
Yeah, that's high. So the important thing to remember is that when you're reading blood in a blood test, you're reading what's circulating in your system.
Right.
What's circulating in the blood. It doesn't mean that's what you're absorbing, right?
Okay.
So your absorption points for vitamin D can only absorb so much. So whatever's left just keeps circulating and circulating, right?
Okay.
Now, the important thing to remember, the vitamin D that we have has K2, which is a very important coagulation factor. So a lot of times when people start taking a lot of vitamin D, they start bruising, they start having, things don't heal as fast. And they're having other issues because vitamin D requires K2 for absorption.
Okay.
So it's important to remember, in nature, you saturate something, it's going to desaturate something else. It's a pool situation. So again, vitamin D in the days of the era of COVID is super necessary, especially we're going into winter months. Days are shorter, days are colder. And I'll talk a little bit about what that means with skin and things like that.
Okay. Thank you.
We have Becca, we have Mary, Serena, Chris, and Amber just joined. Welcome. I don't know if you guys
Isabel.
see us.
Hello.
Yeah. We'll wait a few more minutes and maybe you guys can share, if you guys are willing or wanting to, how this whole COVID situation has obviously affected everyone, particularly businesses, and what you're doing to adjust and adopt and negotiate some of these things with your clients and patients, and both with mandates and things like that. Well, for us, it's for me, it's a little sad because we had really look forward to having some of these in-house classes every other week. really kind of teach and see people in person and have that community. But I guess something like this is better than nothing. And so I think we need to just stay connected because everything right now is really going towards more isolation, both clinically, mentally, emotionally. The holidays are coming. The thing to remember is that we don't have a reference to anything like this before. It's like, oh, this happened in 1980 something, and this is what's going to happen, and then we'll be XYZ. No, we don't. We don't have any reference to any reality to what's going on right now, right? So a lot of people, at least for me, what I see with patients coming in are three constant denominators. One is insomnia, two is anxiety,
Anxiety.
and depression. Okay, it's just sort of part of the fabric that is happening now, because obviously there's a lot to be concerned about, and like I said, there's nothing to point to say this is going to be over on this date, or this is going to eventually take its course this way because this is what happened 20 years ago. This is what happened last year. You know, my opinion is that we would have something like this if we would consider something like COVID-19 as a typical yearly thing that's happened. You know, there's been other SARS outbreaks that's happened in the past, and obviously nothing was shut down. No one was wearing masks. No one was taking precautions. What happened, and then eventually it wore itself out. But this is not the case now, and so I think it's important for us to stay connected in this community, to be able to support each other in ways that are helpful. Okay, Melissa just texted me that she's talking to many people that are trying to get on. So we'll continue to have a little dance here if you guys are warmed up. So any thoughts, anything that is worth sharing, whether it's personal or business wise, anything that seems helpful to you guys as business owners, as clinical experts with your patients, with your practice, things like that. I think this is a good forum to share. It's a safe forum. I think we would have a lot of benefit in general. So maybe Tisha, do you have anything to share about that based on people you see and talk to?
Unfortunately, we got the email this morning from the barbering, the state saying that they expect us to close down in LA County. I don't know if this crowd knows or remembered or was part of our initial announcement that we've gone online to allow online sales for DNA. I think that has supplemented a lot of people's income in the interim. But I know, to be honest, a lot of places are basically operating on the down low. I mean, they just are. Whether it's their homes or just seeing one client at a time, very spaced out between clients. But it's all just a kind of a new field at this point. I mean, this is orthodox, because to me, it doesn't seem fair that you can go get Botox, or you could go get laser, or you go to a dentist, and for them to keep shutting down the aesthetics industry and hair care, it doesn't make sense. But I think a lot of, like I said, people are just seeing one client at a time. And hopefully all the states don't follow, what we're doing.
Can I ask that everybody mute themselves, because there's a lot of background noise?
Yeah.
Unless you want to talk.
Yeah, that's one thing that is, I was going to bring up, but I can bring it up now and remind everyone later also that with DNA, we're trying to really help in the sense of making it easier for things to flow better, given the circumstances. And as you know, if anyone's been with DNA for a while, you understand that we have been very, very diligent about enforcing not selling online, because it is a promise that I made early on to my accounts. They were very, very poised about if they're going to invest, if they're going to, carry DNA, they want to make sure that they're not going to, the clients or someone's not going to be able to find it on Amazon or on a website here and there and everywhere, which I agree. It's a very special product line. It's not like anything else, so it shouldn't be readily available without any guidance, without any sort of instruction from you guys, right? However, being that it's what it is, a few months ago we decided that how can we help our accounts? How can we assure that they can have another revenue stream that is going to be available for them? So we decided that we're going to open it up for each account to be able to sell online. So if you have a website, you're allowed now, or we're okay with the fact that you can sell online. The only thing you got to do is just call the office, register with Melissa, and just say, "Hi, Mary," and "Oh, hi, Mary, how you doing? Yeah, I want to let you know that I want to go ahead and register for online sales." Okay, and the only thing we ask is that the pricing stays either congruent with price list or higher. But we don't want to make it where, Josie is undercutting Peggy over here and vice versa, because we just don't want that. If it's done right, and if it's done ethically, and if it's done with your clients in mind, with some instruction, I think in general is a great opportunity for us to create more awareness from DNA, to see DNA more and more, and to be managed by the professionals, which you are. Now, again, this is not available for people that are not part of DNA certification, DNA family, if you will. This is only available for people that are and have been trained and are certified by DNA. Okay, so it's still limited to you. It's not just like, okay, let's open the floodgates and now everyone can sell it on Amazon. They can sell it on all these different ways. No, it has to be your website. It has to be with someone that is registered with our headquarters, and that is also engaging in someone that wants to buy. It's an opportunity. If you look at it, it's a virtual traffic. If someone goes on your website and wants to buy something, it's an opportunity for you to start a conversation, whether it's a new client or whether it's a repeat client. It's an opportunity to say, "Hi, how's it going? How's your skin? How's this? How's that?" It's an opportunity to sell them the right product and to create repeat business, right? We also have a drop option, meaning that obviously if you don't have it in stock, if you don't want to carry it in stock, you can always call the office and have a drop ship available to whoever you want to send it to, right? So you have someone in, say you're in Oklahoma, and you have someone that lives in Washington State or in, I don't know, Illinois, Chicago. You can just call the office and say, "This is my client. This is what they need," and we'll ship it. Okay, so you basically don't have to worry about packaging. You don't have to worry about going to the post office or UPS or having to carry more product or carrying inventory for packaging and tape and wasting your time trying to figure that stuff out. We already have it. We have that infrastructure available. So I don't know if any of you or all of you knew that, but that's available. And we're trying to obviously have that more available, because I think most people are wanting to have their products, but obviously they can't get to you, or you may not be open at this point. Having that option on your website and letting your clients know, and even maybe advertising somewhere, Facebook or something, who knows, whatever your method of being able to get exposed, go for it. This is the time to do it. People are open to it. And again, also a lot of times we get clients calling because, oh, I'm so-and-so and my salon or my spa or my clinician is closed now, but I really need my anti-aging cream. So if you're not registered as a online sales, then we have no way of actually giving you credit for that. In other words, we would contact you and say, hey, so-and-so called, they were getting it from you, they want XYZ. Do you want us to ship it? Or if say someone's new to the area and you're part of that, our DNA family, then what's going to happen is we're going to give you that business. We're going to give you that sale. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me check with Melissa and see if,
And Instagram's a really great way to get sales online from others. Even we have an account who gets sales from with her before and after acne photographs from all over the country. So
I'm on the phone one. I could hear them, but not
Yeah.
see them. Okay, thanks.
hi, Maheen.
Hi. God, it was so hard to connect. Now I could just hear you guys.
Oh,
That's okay.
good morning, Maheen.
all right.
Hi,
So
doctor.
we're going to get going. We're going to start and then joins after. So at this point, if everyone can mute their mic so that everyone can hear well and clear. And then we're going to open it up again at one point towards the end for any Q&A. So. Let's see. Let me just make a few adjustments here. Okay, I am still hearing a little feedback, so if you're not muted yet, let's see.
Uh-oh, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, perfect. So this is the last Zoom class of the year, and it is December 2020, thank God. We're going to talk about winter skin and peels. And years ago, I would say probably 10 years ago, I was asked to create peels. And I always had an issue with peels because I researched the raw ingredients of peels and they all came from commercial grade industries like DuPont and St. Clair, which are paint manufacturers, commercial solvents that are used to clean industrial machines and create thinners and paints and all these other chemicals, right? The petroleum industry, basically the chemical industry. So I was really opposed to peels at that point. So people were really saying, look, if anyone can create peels, you can. And that's, they kind of challenged me on it because they were saying, look, I can't survive or compete without having peels in my practice. Now I understand what they mean, because honestly, being a clinical practitioner, a licensed practitioner, an esthete, if you will, an esthetician, you have some leeway, but not a lot, right? There's things that you would want to use, but you can't. There's things that are not necessarily permitted, and yet you want to create some benefits. You want to create some real changes in people's skin. And Tasha and I have been around forever. I mean, we've seen machines come and go. We've seen modalities come and go. We've seen a lot of things come and go. Some are fairly cheap, like a roller, okay? And some have been, up in the tens of thousands of dollars that I would walk into someone's business and I would see $100,000 worth of machines. And it would be like, it's a little dusty. When's the last time you used this, And honestly, they weren't allowed to use it unless they had a medical director and on and on and on. So I understand. The thing to remember is that your ability to use peels is an amazing, amazing tool, because over the years, it's the thing that hasn't left. It's the thing that have made people really, really successful, right? Some of the most successful accounts that I know and people are basically peel queens. I mean, they have mastered the peel modality. Now, what does that mean? It means that someone can walk in, they can do a simple cleanse, a 1 or 2 layer peel, and be done in 20 minutes or so, half an hour if you want to kind of massage a little more, and have amazing, incredible results. So you're leveraging your time, your effort, both clinically with the result and financially with having a peel system as part of your fabric of your practice, right? The thing I want to really let you know is that the return on investment with peels, at least with DNA, is anywhere between 2,500% and 2,800%. What does that mean? That if you pay $1 for, worth of peels, you're going to make $2,800 from it. I don't know of any other modality that can do that. Aside from that, we're going to talk about the peels and what they mean. All right. So keep that in mind, because I always see people asking me, what should I do? What is it that I want to do? What is it? And I said, well, have you considered peels? And they're like, oh, yeah, I don't know about peels. They're kind of like the boogeyman, right? And they're only that because, we need to be informed. We need to know how to use them. So let's talk a little bit about, let's just get started. So obviously, I'm Dr. Noel Aguilar. I'm the founder in DNA and CEO of DNA. I'm still running the company. I'm involved with it. I was there from point A to point B. So all the formulas, if you look at the DNA line, if you want to think about what it is, in essence, they're basically cultured mediums. What does that mean? It means that these formulas are not synthetic. These are not bits and pieces of ingredients put together in a bottle with a nice fragrance and with some preservative to keep it what it is and smelling what it is and not turn. These are actual active ingredients that are bioavailable and biocompatible with your skin. Now, what does that mean? It means that these cultured mediums have been put together to be able to be active and have a relationship with your skin, whether it be a nutrient, whether it be an enzyme that is actually creating cell turnover a little faster, whether it be an antioxidant that is going to protect your skin from environmental aggressors, stress. We're going to talk more about that. Or whether it be just something that is going to cleanse your skin, but not interfere with the acid mantle, or it's not going to interfere with stripping your own resources, especially right now. Unless you live in Florida, it's about the only place I can think of that stays pretty. That's because someone just moved there, and it's, I know, you know who you are, right? And so Florida is about the only place I can think of that is not going to be affected as much, but still, there's some weather changes. We'll talk a little more about that. But so think about DNA, whether it's a cleanser, a booster drop, a peel, a night cream, supernatural vitamin A, the Oceana. These are cultured mediums. These are mediums that have been prepared in a biological, alive medium. And all that medium means is that it's a carrier for what you want to accomplish, right? So if you have a medium that is growing and becoming a canvas for these nutrients, and these are antioxidants, these are minerals, these are all kinds of things that we put in them, then it's considered bioactive and bioavailable. And those are the things I want you to remember as we go along with today. If that's the only thing you get from today, it's worth the time and effort, okay? Because there isn't anything like it. No other skincare line starts as a culture medium, none. They start as individual commercially produced ingredients, whether they're, you know, peptides or whether they're minerals or whether they're fats. These are actual commercial grade ingredients, right? Okay, so let's talk about the winter climate. And what I mean by climate, I mean is, again, our environment, we're living in an environment that is a medium, right? There's mediums of bacteria, there's mediums of temperature, there's mediums of moisture in the air, there's UV, UVB, there's all these different mediums that we as human beings, as biological entities have to negotiate every day, right? So, and that changes with the seasons, right? If you look at nature, if you look at trees, if you look at animals, they follow a cycle, right? I'm looking out the window right now and there's trees that are, you know, don't have any leaves, they change colors, the grasses are gone. There's a lot of things that change. So we need to consider that. So what it means to you as a clinician is that you have to consider the slowing down of cell turnover. Okay, what does that mean? It means that our bodies, as again, functional biological wonders, are going to follow the cycles of the planet. Okay, we're further away from the sun, which means a little colder or a lot colder, depending on where you are, distance from the equator. You're going to have shorter days. You know, I'm in North Idaho right now. I mean, the sun doesn't come up to 7:30 and it's pitch dark at 3:50. Okay, that's like 4 hours less than when I was in California in the summer, in just a short period of a couple months, right? So what happens is that your body gets triggered in these sort of like pseudo hibernation modes. Your metabolism starts to slow down. So that means that things are going to change. That means that your cell turnover is going to slow down. If you're in Panama, for instance, you're not going to get affected too much because the days are still long. The weather is warm. It's really humid. So you're going to be craving things more like, you know, fruits. You're going to be craving things like, you know, more hydration. So it doesn't change that much. However, you're going to get shorter days no matter what. You're going to get colder days no matter what. So the thing that it means for you is that you have to really focus on cell turnover as a skincare professional. This is why peels come in, right? So shorter days, colder days, dry or not, it's going to be a certain change. What does that mean in general? Those of you that know me, I just don't teach about skin. I teach about the whole body, right? Because it is connected to your skin. It's not a separate entity. We can't just sit here and go, I'm going to do this to your face and not take into account everything that's going on right now. So having said that, what are some of the triggers that are going to happen? The triggers means that your metabolism as a whole is going to slow down. Okay, we see this in mammals, whether it's a bear, whether it's deer, whether it's rodents, whether they're human beings, our metabolisms slow down. So it gets triggered by sunlight more than anything, okay? Being around horses my whole life, I used to think that their winter coats gets triggered by the temperature. And that's not true. It gets triggered by sunlight. Same thing with trees. The fall foliage gets triggered by shorter days, less sunlight, not by temperature. So same thing with our brains. We get less sunlight, shorter days, things are going to trigger to sort of slow down, right? So we're going to be in a sort of like a hibernation type of a metabolism cycle, which means that we're going to crave things that are going to be possibly a little more fatty, a little more carby, a little more sugar, because we need to convert into energy because we're not getting that from the environment or culture medium where we're existing. Which then leads to maybe more breakouts, which leads to possibly more issues with skin, right? What does that mean? It means that you just need to take that little piece of information and make it part of your thread, your fabric of how you're looking at people's skin at this point. The other thing that has never existed is wearing masks, right? I mean, for the most part, most people are wearing masks. I see people wearing masks in their cars. I see people wearing masks, when they're exercising. So what is that going to do? It's going to create. Now I'm getting reports back from the field that people are having breakouts. People are having more hyperpigmentation around this area. Why? Because there's friction going on. There's an accumulation of bacteria. We're recycling our waste. So that's creating more of a metabolic drain that the immune system has to control. And all these are reflective in the skin. I mean, that's the thing that we're starting to see now. So keep that in mind as well. Possibly address it with, if people are usually using a cleanser that is not as exfoliating, maybe consider doing that maybe once a week. Maybe the scrub, a little gentle exfoliation would be good to help turn over the skin faster. Okay. We talked about diet, fat, and energy. This time of year sometimes comes with some blessings, but in most cases, it also comes with stressors, right? It's the holidays, it's the commercials, it's the family, it's the things that usually are skeletons come out this time of year. So the stress levels of our bodies are going to produce things like cortisol, epinephrine, adrenaline, stress coping hormones, okay? And these can be also reflected in the skin as acne, as hyperpigmentation, or the opposite, where again, it reduces the cell turnover. So the skin starts looking a little gray, starts looking a little lack of luster, those kinds of things. So what are the things to do? I mean, also this time of year, families coming into town or not, or they're having holidays like this. I had a friend that just had a Zoom wedding the other day. And I wasn't sure what that meant. And I didn't really want to ask until she called about 2 hours later crying, saying it was the worst thing she's ever done. Her brother got married and it was in another state, and they had a Zoom ceremony. And then they were going to have a Zoom party after or something like that. And so yeah, I mean, that alone was super stressful. And I can think of a million other examples of that. So holidays come with joy. Usually this holiday season is going to be a little different. I'm not sure how that's going to affect most of us, but I can certainly think it's going to be a little more stressful than normal. So what do we do? What do we do to adjust to these changes? One of the first things you have to remember is water, water, water. I think we forget about water in the winter because obviously we're not necessarily hot, we're not sweating, but a lot of times the heaters are on. The air outside is a lot colder and drier, so we are going to start craving more stimulus, things like sugar I talked about, but how about things like coffee, right? So we need to stay active. And so the days are shorter. It's 5 o'clock and I'm thinking, oh my God, is it bedtime already? Because it's been dark for an hour. So, and I still have about maybe 3, 4, 5 hours of work. So I'm craving coffee at 5 in the afternoon. And I'm asking people and friends, I go, what do you do at 5? I'm like, I drink coffee, or I have sugar. So these are all things that are different than if the sun was up till 8 o'clock, 8:30, right? We're having to really go towards things that are stimulus to keep us going. Stay active, move around. It's important to kind of get a little sweat going, okay? Stay flexible. these are things that are going to release toxins when your metabolism starts to slow down a little bit. Now, there's different levels of this. Some people are going to say, well, it doesn't really affect me because I've been blessed with great skin. Okay. However, your clients that are coming in most likely are not in your same category. So these are all little tidbits of information that are important. If you have access to a sauna, if you have access to a treadmill, if you have access to being in nature, connecting, but stay active. It's super important. Again, remember the sort of like pseudo hibernation mode that you're in because of the time of year. Eat as much cooked food as you can. Now, what does that mean? Things like warm broths, right? If you're going to have a salad, maybe choose steamed veggies. Maybe choose more like, stir fried kale or greens. It's easier to digest something that has been slightly cooked because the glue gets separated and now you're able to really break it down, absorb it, and then convert it into units of energy or building blocks in your body. Warm foods are important at this point. So things that I really focus on at this time of year is things like bone broth, eggs, meats, salmon are important. The fruits of choice for me are usually berries, apples, and pears. Those are the things that tend to be less offensive, less glycemic. Try to avoid processed foods, junk food, sugar, gluten, dairy. Those are the main offenders right now. And we also talked about the immune system earlier, about how you don't want to kind of jack up your immune system. You want to support it, modulate it, give it what it needs, but we don't want to hype it up. A lot of people walking around with autoimmune diseases or inflammatory conditions. And so the 4 or the 5 supplements that I really believe, we talked about vitamin D. Vitamin D is important. Make sure it has K2. We have one in DNA that we recommend. The probiotic is important just to keep that balance of good flora in your gut and to make sure that, we're wearing this mask, it's being recirculated, but at least we have a good biodiversity in our gut. Vitamin C is important. It doesn't hype up your immune system. It supports it and modulates it, and it gives it what it needs to kind of do its job. The other thing I like is actually fish oil, right? Because it gives you the immune factors. It's anti-inflammatory. It's good for your hormones, your memory. It's the research on fish oil is no longer debatable. It's the same as vitamin D and probiotics and vitamin C. Those are things you can take to the bank. The other thing I really, really like is a protein that we also have. It's tons and tons of glutamine, which is an amino acid that helps to heal the gut and to speed up your metabolism, right? It's a cofactor in the human growth hormone. So I usually take it at night. I take it before bedtime. It keeps my blood sugar up or modulated, and it also helps when the release of the human growth factor happens somewhere around 11 p.m., 11 to 1 a.m. Those are the things to consider as far as the winter climate. We talked about the stress. We talked about how the cell turnover slows down. This is the ideal time to really do some really good exfoliation, and I can't think of anything better than peels, right? So if we circle back to what DNA peels are and why they're different, for those of you that have been to classes, certification courses, you know that DNA products are always made very differently. They're selected from the raw ingredients that are always grown. These are substances that are grown either from a tree, a seed, a fruit, a plant, proteins, but we don't stop there. What's super important to remember is that these ingredients are classified as their ionic category. They either have a positive ion to give, they have a negative ion to give, or they're positive neutral, or they're neutral, right? So when you bring things together in a combination, You have to make sure that if you have a positive ingredient, you have to have a negative ingredient to create a marriage. And it has to have the appropriate culture medium to be able to accomplish that. The tricky part is to classify what this ingredient is, and that's where the whole science comes in. The other part of it, the art, is bringing it together in a medium that is very conducive for them to survive and find each other. At the end of the formula, at the end of the frequency, and what I mean by frequency is that we know when the formula is done and finished, because the megahertz reading is exactly the same signature for that formula every time we do a batch. So it's going to smell the same, it's going to feel the same, it's going to look the same, it's going to do exactly what it's meant to do based on the frequency. Once these ingredients come together, they create one molecular structure of that formula versus individual ingredients doing their own thing. So it's able to be stable without preservatives, and it's able to last at least 3 or so years in the shelf without any preservatives, and not to have to add anything like alcohol or other preservatives. The peels are no exemption to this. The peels, the reason why I was shying away for years about it was because nothing like that ever existed. How am I going to find a way to marry these ingredients together and create a peel, right? So we had to go out there and actually create our own. So when we talk about the peels, we need to remember where they come from. The lactic, for instance, acid that we use come from a culture medium from goat's milk kefir, right? The glycolic comes from organic sugarcane fermentation. Again, a culture medium. And the salicylic comes from Amazon wild birch. Again, a culture medium, right? So these are biologically active, biologically available for the skin to accept, negotiate, and be able to then be in communication with the actual product. When we talk about the Jessner peel, these are all those ingredients, and then we spice it up with antioxidants, essential oils, because we want to create the controlled wound, but we also want to then make available the repair factors, right? Which is very, very important. Anyone can burn the skin, but not everyone can then have a component of that same action have the healing properties that the Jessner peel has. So, Tisha, anything you want to add at this point?
Well, I wanted to add that, yes, I'm seeing more accumulation of dead cell buildup with people wearing masks. And I'm seeing more milia, more comedones, impactions. And that's what people in the field are seeing as well. So cell turnover is, I mean, this is the peel season, right? So this is the time to really look at this. And one of the things I like to reiterate is that even with our more mild peels like the lactic or the glycolic, those can be used, on a weekly basis in a series. So some of the estheticians that shy away from peels, there's multiple reasons that they do, but a lot of them are, they've heard this falsehood that, the peeling thins the skin too much, and you can't get that back. You could really only do that with a laser when you burn down to the dermal layers. So what I've seen in when I was practicing 6 days a week in LA, seeing 16, 17 people in a day sometimes, particularly with the deeper peels, is that the skin acclimated to the peels. So weekly peels, since we get new cell turnover every 35 days, if you only peel once per month, you're actually peeling off the same dead skin. So in all practical aspects, you can either do the weekly peels with our mild ones and lead up to a Jessner, or if for some reason the client is adverse to doing a Jessner, you can get great results by doing peels on a weekly basis and just encouraging a series with the peels. But this is absolutely the time to get into the cell turnover. And I always say this: men shave every day. They get the reputation of having a little firmer jawlines than women. Models back in the 80s were warned about this and were told, you guys need to get some cell turnover. But somehow it just hasn't reached the aesthetic world enough, because it still surprises me how estheticians are like, well, peels. And Doctor's absolutely right. It's a huge part of the aesthetics industry and a very necessary part. Once we hit 25, our cells start slowing down as it is. So, and then again, it's slowing down more even in the winter, as Doctor said. So cell turnover is absolutely crucial. And we do also have the Medipads for the people who, for retail. So the scrubs and the Medipads, the vitamin A, those are all your best friends for home cell turnover. And then, you know, when he was talking about the chemical nature of most peels, we discussed this really elaborately in our classrooms where, you know, and it's one of my favorite words, apoptosis. We have a natural apoptosis that our cells go through. And then we have a not so natural apoptosis where we've actually introduced something toxic or synthetic, whether it's internally or externally. Of course, we're talking topically. And it's causing a premature apoptosis, which is actually going to age and damage the cells. So that's why DNA peels are so important, as opposed to using a peel that you know, the chemical nature of it, we don't know. I fell in love with DNA peels because early in my practice, I wanted to change skin. I wanted results like most of you. And we really were able to get it with peels. But then there was the downside of what are we actually applying to the skin, and are we causing further damage down the road? Because that can absolutely happen when you've introduced something that's going to create, you know, early premature cell death. So it's just win-win with these peels. You don't really have to be afraid of them. In all practical standpoint, they can be cocktailed together, not the Jesner, but the lactic and the glycolic with a little sal. They can be layered. You can always reach out to us for more information on how to do that, but you can get very creative with our peels. So, but that's what came up for me while you were talking that I would want to interject.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because it's no different than saying I'm going to go on a week diet and really go for it this time. And then after the week's over, you go back to your old habits and no one gain anything other than a lot of grief because you force something to happen for a one-time deal. So same thing with exercise, same thing with different things. So the point Tisha is making is that the series of peels is where you're going to get the real benefit. People always ask me, how many Jesners can I do in a season? Well, it depends on where you live, and it depends how diligent and devoted you're going to be, right? So if you live in Florida, I'm guessing one Jester peel in the season, either with one of the milder acids before and after, right? But there's people that can handle it. People that say, look, I'll stay indoors for a week and I'll still be wearing sunscreen and a hat and after. And there's people that can't do that either because their work or they're just kind of busybodies. They can't stand still. I know. I'm married to one of them. She's always asking me for peels and peels and peels. And I'm like, no, you can't, because you're gonna go skiing later or you're gonna go surfing tomorrow. And you can't. And as much as she's trying to convince me she's gonna do it, it's not gonna happen. So but if someone is really diligent and saying, hey, look, here it is, it's November, it's starting to get, cooler, the days are shorter, I can work from home, which more people can now. Go for it. It's early December, you can do one now, see how it works out. You can do another one in January, and you can do another one in February. And then just make sure you can manage it. Their skin will completely change, whether it be pore size, elasticity, hyperpigmentation. Yes. Angelique?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if somebody could just mute themselves in the background, that was
I
all.
think I got them. I think I just got them.
I did not mean to interrupt you. That was it.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So I mean, they can spend thousands and thousands and thousands on laser treatments, right? the downtime is very severe. The gradient from being sort of like normal to being, chemically or not chemically in this, but laser burn is going to be like this. So more chances for things going wrong, more chances of hyperpigmentation, of infection, of swelling, on and on and on. So the important thing to remember with peels is that you have many options here. You have a gesture peel that for all practical clinical reasons, it's still a superficial peel, but you've seen pictures. You've seen pictures of how deep you can go with it based on layered, right? You do 5, 6 layers on someone, they're gonna sheet peel. They're gonna really peel, and what's gonna be underneath is gonna be nice, tighter, cleaner looking skin than what they had before. But then what happens after? So remember, you need to start thinking of DNA as your arsenal of your toolbox. You're going to fix something. What are you going to use, right? You have the signal factors, which are incredible for not only cell turnover, but proper cell turnover. There's a difference. You can exfoliate from here to China all day long, and then the cell's only going to regenerate the same way it did before because that's the program it has. Maybe there's deficiencies, maybe there's inflammatory factors. The signal factors are here to correct that program so that it regenerates the way that it used to when it was actually not interfered with, when it had those resources. So remember that. You not only have the peels, but you have the tools to actually implement for healing and for proper cell turnover. That's very crucial because there's peels out there, not only they can be effective, but they're also synthetic. Tisha pointed out that some of these synthetic peels are really oxidative stressors because they're chemicals. They do damage cell turnover. They do damage duplication. They do damage the cell communication process. Whereas ours are basically food that happens to be a certain pH and happens to actually create the same effect without damaging further. So remember that. Now, Tasha brought up the ability to mix and cocktail, right? I have probably done every single combination you can imagine on people, whether it be a training or whether it be, an event that we did. I mean, I've even put vitamin A, I put vitamin C crystals in there. I put booster drops in the lactic, the sal, the glycolic, and mixed it and created a very nice effect for these people because they needed the vitamin C. They needed the extra hydration. They needed the ability to exfoliate. What the glycolic does is very different than salicylic and very different than the lactic, right? So the lactic is probably one of my favorites because when you're ever in doubt, just lean towards the lactic, right? You can have someone with acne, you can have someone with hyperpigmentation, you can have someone with sun damage, you can have someone with large pore size, and the lactic will always do you well, right? It's super hydrating, which is very, very generous of a peel, right? Of a acid, because not only is it creating the exfoliation, but it's also bringing in this enormous amount of hydration. The salicylic is great for acneic skin. It's great for people with large pores. It's great for hyperactive sebum production. So what it does, it really regulates oil production, and it also dries up the oil sebum producing gland. So someone that has constant breakout, someone that is just constantly over producing sebum, comedones, not enough cell turnover, right? People don't realize that when someone has overproductive oil glands, it also weighs down the ability for it to turn over because it's just this heavy sort of glue in between. It's great for protection, it's great for hydration, but not so great for cell turnover, right? The glycolic. Glycolic is if you want to have someone look really amazing right after, someone obviously that doesn't have active acne, doesn't have any pustules, doesn't have a history of breakouts, the glycolic is an amazing asset for, I'm leaving to go to the red carpet, I'm going to take pictures, I'm going to go to a party, I'm going to, you know, do something. The glycolic is very, very good for reducing pore size and creating that really sort of glassy look in the skin immediately. And remember, all these are acids, so they're going to create a little bit of natural response of erythema, which is a little bit of your body's reaction to what this is, to check it out. So the plumping is going to be there. That those fine lines are going to fill in, you know, temporarily, about 48 hours. But it's sort of like saying, hey, come on, let's go, wake up, let's get going, right? That's what it's really doing. The gesture peel obviously is something that you are going to have some downtime, not necessarily because of pain or inflammation or any of those things. It's just mostly you have to just sort of kind of stay indoors and coach them, remind them what they're going to look like in 3 days, because you don't want a scary phone call from someone saying, oh my God, I look like a burn victim, right? So let them know this is what it's going to look like. This is what you want. As far as a discomfort, it might happen while you're doing the peel. A little fan works really well. And it's layer dependent, meaning that you can go as deep as you like based on the layers that you apply, which is great. So if you have someone coming in, they've never had a peel, not really sure how they're going to mentally react to it, or how just emotionally they're going to, you know, react, then just do a peel, do one layer, right? After you do the patch test, you do a patch test, you wait 2 days. They can either call you and say, hey, you know, it's fine, it's nothing. I've had people say, well, I don't see a patch, it must have fallen off. I said, it's not an actual patch, it's just an area that we test the peel to make sure that it's there. And usually if they say, I think it fell off, then that's really good news because there's nothing there, right? If it's a little red, it's a little irritated, then chances are you want to go slow with them, maybe introduce some of the lighter acids. Chances are they're highly inflamed, reactive, things like that. I can usually tell just by looking at someone if they're going to be reactive. If they're thinner, if they have a little bit of red in their skin or their hair, if they have known allergies, those kinds of things are telltale signs that you go slow, you do a patch test, and you wait for the results a few days after that. Okay. Anything else you want to add to that, Tisha?
How you were talking, I thought of a few things, and now I'm like, so no. One of the things that I was wanting to reiterate with the Jesner is that if you do see a sensitivity in the skin or a vulnerability, we can get that skin ready for Jesner easily, especially by incorporating, like he said, the light peels with the signal. Remembering that the signal is re-educating the cell to be that younger, healthier blueprint that all cells actually have and are just needing a little reminder. So vitamin C is crucial for DNA repair. So for those people that are vulnerable, that you can tell their skin is just falling apart and you're not even ready to touch them, just know that we can get them there. And the skin does acclimate for peels. So what I would say is, you know, start with the lactic. If they seem sensitive even for that, you can always add the Zen Therapy gel, and then add the mask to it as well if you're really worried and you really want to dilute it a little. And then just the next week, do it again. And then the next week, maybe just go full lactic. And then the next week, maybe go glycolic. And then eventually the skin is acclimated, it's stronger, it's healthier. Ideally at home, they're using the Signal products. They're using all the antioxidants and our cleansers and moisturizers, getting all those essential things that the skin starts to get lacking in as we age, unfortunately, or as we are assaulted by our environment, like amino acids and minerals and hormones and all the things that we become deficient in on the skin that are so crucial for that repair system. And then you can go into Jesner. So it's really just knowing that you've got a goal, and you can absolutely get people there and regenerate their skin incredibly. But just knowing what steps, I think, is the crucial part. Hopefully that helped. That's what I wanted to reiterate.
Right.
Is we can definitely get them to the Jesner, even if it's you know, a difficult situation in the beginning.
No, I just pulled a Tisha. I had two things I wanted to say, and then I just forgot. Hearing you
Just start
speak,
talking, it'll come.
it's,
Can I ask a quick question?
yes. Who's
This is Janaea.
Oh,
Hi,
hi.
Jania.
Hi, I just had a couple quick questions. One, I can't remember why we don't use glycolic on acneic skin. That's my first question.
Well, remember that the acids. Let's just talk about DNA, right? The glycolic acid is something that has been used for a long time. It's probably the longest running acid that you find in cleansers, that you find in a lot of the over-the-counter skincare. And what it really does is the acid really helps to shut down the pores. It kind of like creates it's sort of like a reaction of the skin to like tighten down. And if you have active acne, then you're going to have a little bit of a mess on your hands, because you want those toxins, you want those pustules to really sort of drain and not shut down, because then they create other issues, right? So for someone that has acneic skin, it's the one thing you kind of want to stay away from initially. You really want to go towards the salicylic. Right? The salicylic does the same thing without shutting down the pores. So it does regulate sebum production, because that's where the issue is the sebum gets overproduced in the gland, sort of sitting there accumulating these bacterias and accumulating whatever's flowing around in the environment, maybe whatever's coming out. It's not draining and freely flowing in and out. This is why you recommend them, washing their face at least twice a day, using the Medi pads to make sure that their sebum production is being reduced. Once that's sort of under control, there's no secondary infection, things are sort of drying down a little bit, calming down, then you can think about possibly mixing some of the glycolic with the salicylic. And this is something they can do every week. This is something that can be done in some cases if they're teenagers and they're just spewing sebum. I mean, you can do it twice a week sometimes. But it's all about really sort of managing that oil production without shutting down those floodgates, because then you have other issues. You have inflammatory conditions, you have these sort of cystic acne that starts to happen, because now the sebum has nowhere to go. It's kind of trapped.
So on a client who's very dry but acneic, glycolic would be okay. It's more for the oily acneic, or
I would say to mix maybe a little bit of lactic with sal.
Okay.
Because it doesn't shut down, right? And then having if he's dry or she's dry, then kind of question them on their diet, fast food, junk food, dairy products.
Okay.
Bad fats. That's the main thing that I find over and over. I had someone from Florida actually this week call me. She's an esthetician, and seriously, she's like 20-something years old, gorgeous skin, and she's complaining about having something in her forehead. And I said, you know what? It's so small, I can't even see it through your phone. I don't know what you're talking about. She says, no, it's there. I can feel it. I can feel it. And I said, okay, I don't really know what to say, because I don't know what I'm looking at. I can't see it. It's so minute, but for her, it was like unbelievable. So I said, all right, let's try something else. What's your diet like? Well, I started on the keto diet. So I'm eating a lot of nut butters and avocados and oils and blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, how long have you been on it? She goes, I've been on it for like 4 weeks. I said, how do you feel? I said, well, honestly, the first 2 weeks I felt great. Now after I eat, I feel really tired. I said, okay, so how about if you just stop eating so much fat and change that? And because she was eating also raw milk and all these things. Someone with perfect skin like that had minor sort of like reactions to it, but someone different that wasn't in her classification of great skin could have had a mess on their face. But anyways, she texted me I think 2 days later saying it was gone. Right. So a lot of this can really stem from what they're eating. And if nothing else, if someone's having a lot of this sort of like acne and just a lot of problems with things like that, just check in and see what they're eating. And
Okay.
stay away from junk food, which can be things like soft drinks, but the oils, the heavy oils, people are like, well, I'm vegan, but then they go out and they have like a stir fry, or they have the oils are just junk. They're like recycled peanut oil or canola oil, which are undigestible. So what does the body do? It uses their biggest organ to try to filter it out, which is usually the skin, right? That's a very, very unsuspecting, untalked about variable, I think, in skincare is the bad oils. I don't care how fancy the restaurant is. I don't care, how expensive it is. They're not going to use good quality oils. They can't. It's not feasible, right? They're not going to use ultra virgin organic olive oil or coconut oil or things that you use.
You have to ask them to do that.
You can, but even
I
mean, yeah, you can. And some will, some won't. But even the quality that they have, again, you have to remember that restaurants, raw ingredients, skincare is no different, that they're buying stuff in bulk from a commercial manufacturer, right? These aren't your farmers markets. These aren't your local distilleries of olive oil, Living in Ojai, we have an actual olive oil farm that is there, and on and on and on. I mean, so restaurants are the same. So people that eat out a lot, even though they're eating out at different areas or things like that, they're still being exposed to some of these bad, rancid, recycled oils that are not only bad for your liver, but they're actually going to, after a little bit of time, are going to show on your skin. Not necessarily just in acne, but in just kind of reduces the cell turnover as well. Okay.
Thank you for that. Could I ask a question on the Jessner, or would you like me to wait?
No, go ahead.
Okay. She's young and I'm new to doing Jessner, so I don't have the experience to really know. We did the Jessner on her. She's young, oily, acneic, and it didn't get rid of her light scarring. So could I do like a salicylic a week after the Jessner healed, or would it be better to wait just to do another Jessner in another month?
No, you can do a sal in between. Like right now, like how long has it been? A week or 10 days?
Yeah, it's been 10 days now.
Okay. Did she peel really good or no?
She did.
Okay. And there's still a little bit of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, scarring type of thing. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. What I would do is I would go over those areas only with sal, maybe 1 or 2 layers, and leave it on for about, I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute, or less if it's really hot, and then wash it off.
Okay.
And then consider doing another Jessner, I would say in about 3 weeks.
Okay. And in between that, with her home care, I had her, she has everything. So she has the Medipads, the retinol, the skin lightening gel. I just told her to discontinue the Medipads 3 days before, but she continued to use our Supernatural. Is that okay?
You can continue doing that on her T-zone, like her forehead, her chin, her nose. I wouldn't do the rest just because, you know, you want to let the skin rest. You want to let the skin heal. And it's not just about sort of exfoliating and cell turnover. It's the quality of the cell turnover that we really, really are going for, right? Because being young like that, her skin is probably regenerating and turning over like every 25, 30 days.
Mhm.
But if it continues to do it in the same manner, then we haven't really gained anything. So, so the first sort of gesture is to just kind of get the junk off, right? Re-regulate the sebum production, kind of do that first heavy lifting. How many layers did you do, by the way?
Well, it was one layer. However, she peeled like it was 4 layers. I did a really heavy layer is what happened. I used gauze and it was a heavy first layer.
Okay.
But she peeled like a good chunk, like, you know, like our good pictures show. It wasn't micro shedding at all. It was a full
Okay.
shed.
Is she still micro peeling at all?
No.
Okay. So that just goes to show you that if this was like, say, the same process in a 60-year-old, there would still be micro peeling. There would still be a little bit of redness. It just takes longer for that cell turnover to come in. Someone like her, she's already done that whole process in 10 days.
Right.
Right. This is the difference between, how old is she? I'm sorry.
26.
Okay. All right. 26. For some reason, I thought she was younger, but for whatever reason, she's turning over really fast, which is great. So someone like that, you've gone through the fire, if you will. You've done the Jessner. She's come out of it. You've had really good results. Now what? Now you kind of continue to do the exfoliation with the lighter peels, and then in 3 weeks, you push it a little bit, right? You kind of do maybe you know, 2 layers, not necessarily as heavy as the first one, but let that layer soak in, let it do its thing. You do another layer, and then you observe and see what happens, right? I'm a big fan of the Woods lamp, just to kind of keep tabs on if there's any hot spots.
Okay.
Maybe to avoid those areas. Usually the hot spots are going to be around the cheek area, maybe the chin, the upper lip. But usually the forehead is pretty good. Temples are okay. The jawline tends to be a little thicker, which is great. So those are the areas you can kind of really push a little bit and to get better results. Yeah. Anything to add, Tisha?
I wanted to, could I just add maybe do signal in between as well? Because remember the collagen synthesis that we get. It's such a good opportunity to really rejuvenate everything when you've got the cell turnover going. So just a reminder that that's a crucial part of the collagen synthesis.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And amazing things with acne scarring and the signal and peels together, like life-changing.
Yeah. And then once the season's over, like depending on what city you're in, what part of the country?
We're in Pismo Beach.
Florida.
No, California.
Oh, yeah. The other side.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're going to have fog and cooler weather probably through April, right?
Right.
So you're going to be able to really extend that process as long as she's not obviously going out there and exposing herself to wind and things like that. But the signal factor is a good additive. I'll use this time to let you guys know a heads up on a new product that's coming out probably in 3 weeks. I'm really excited about it. It's a cold hydrating tightening mask. And it's part of the signal line. So it's going to have peptides, amino acid sequencing. And it's really a really advanced mask. And it's going to be kept in a fridge. So it's really, it's a gel. I mean, it's something that it's almost looks, you see right through it. And it's going to be really nice, healing and cooling. So if you're doing anything like microneedling, microdermabrasion, any kind of like light peels, this would be something to bring in and just really calm everything down, put in those peptides, put in those amino acids, and just really kind of just nicely hydrate and heal the skin. I'm really excited about it. It's not going to have any fragrance. I'm not going to mess with that. I don't think it's necessary. But it's probably one of our most advanced products as far as a mask and as far as a back bar that we produced, other than the signal factors. But it is part of the signal line because it has the same restorative and reprogramming abilities that we have. So we've tested it. It's in full production right now. So I expect to have it hopefully before the end of the year.
Could that be microneedled in, doctor? Could that be the medium for microneedling for the slip?
It can. Yeah, I mean, it certainly can. I mean, it's going to be what you can expect from it is very soothing, very hydrating. But after about maybe 2-3 minutes, it's gonna create a nice tightening effect, right? I've tested it on people. They've slept with it overnight, so you can't overdo it. The one thing people always ask is, can I just leave it on? Can I leave it on? I don't want to wash it off because it just feels really, really nice. You can if you want. There's no adverse reactions leaving it. You know, my wife is kind of my new guinea pig. So, so she's been a professional surfer, paddleboarder. So she's been exposed to a lot of things, and she never cared about her skin. And now she's like, oh, I see what I've done over the years. You know what I mean? I make fun of her because her license from, I don't know when, 10 years ago. I'm like, who is this? You look like a lobster. Oh yeah, I just gotten back from Costa Rica after, XYZ. And like, get some sun. Let's start working on it, right? And so she was one of the ones that I just put it on and said, I'm not going to tell you anything. Put it on. Let me know what you. She's walking around the house, kind of like, wow, it feels really nice. I said, is this something you leave on? Is it something you wash? I said, well, what do you feel? She goes, I want to leave it on. So she left it on all night. Woke up in the morning, and then it started to kind of. Her body started to actually metabolize it, right? It started to actually break it down. So the peptides absorbed, the nutrients absorbed, and the medium, which again, this is the word that I keep using, the carrier for it, the body's wisdom started to actually now break it down. So it kind of started to flake off a little bit. So I think it's very exciting. As soon as we get it in, I'm going to send samples to every one of you so you guys can play with it. Tell me what you think. So I think that's another tool in your arsenal. I always like when people kind of push the envelope, knowing that they have tools in their toolbox to be able to then make adjustments. If something that they went a little deep with XYZ, the roller with maybe one of the lactic or the cell, they have something to come in and really calm it down, whether it be one of the signal serums or now this cold peptide hydrating mask. Someone asked, can we talk about pricing for weekly peels? What do you think about that, Tisha?
It's tough because it's really relates to your area and the socioeconomic, things in that area. So, because you have to look at your cost and your time. So if you're doing it as just a quick peel and it's just in and out, then of course you can go on the lower scale. But pricing is a very difficult thing to get into because it's going to be very different in a small town in Texas and it's going to be in Beverly Hills or Santa Barbara, California. But I always said, you can do these. I created a protocol once for a place that they wanted some catchy phrases. So one of my protocols was quick lift, right? So with quick lift, it addresses anti-aging, and all it was a quick peel and then the cryo. and you're out the door. You got a little moisture on. And then of course, when you've got a price range, like when you can get the price point down because it's based on your time and what you're spending. We did a clear skin. I like the positive phrasing when you're creating a menu, not acne facial. I like to hear like what the objective is. What is the objective? Clear skin. So I had a clear skin protocol, 15 minutes. They're in, they get their peel, they get their signal, they get, advised on what exfoliation products and acne products to use at home or clear skin products to use at home. And they're sent on their way. So when you're doing turnover like that every 15 minutes, you can go as low as like $95 and still make a really great profit. You can get 3 people in 1 hour. But if you're talking about incorporating a peel in with your regular treatments like microcurrent or microdermabrasion or a facial where you're doing extractions and again, you can do it as an upsell, which, I personally as an esthetician was never comfortable with upselling. Like, this is the price, but then while you're on the table, I start upselling. It was never my thing, but I always envy the ones that can. I always just provided a peel. I believe everybody needs to peel their skin on a weekly basis when they're in a series, and then they go to a monthly schedule because that cell turnover needs that and to absorb all the nutrients and encourage that nutrient absorption. But it's hard for me to say with pricing. What do you think, doctor?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that, of course. And there was something that I always talk about in class in pertaining to this question. And that is that when I first started practicing, I was probably within the first year, someone recommended their mother to come in and see me. She was a client and she says, I think I'm going to send my mom. Can you, help her out? I'm like, sure. So she shows in, she comes in the office and she looked like a homeless person, right? And I wasn't sure if she had some, mental challenges or special needs. And she was carrying about 5 plastic bags of, I don't know what. And she was sitting in my office and, we did the consultation and XYZ. And at the end, I was trying to figure out what's the most economical program for her. She needed a lot of things for her hormones and she was having digestive issues and XYZ. So I did a lot of educating for her as far as diet and things to eat and things to stay away from. But at the end, I know that she needed some liver support. I know that she needed some GI support, and she was kind of constipated, so she needed some. So there was like a lot of things I wanted to give her, but I was struggling trying to keep it down to like maybe 3 things. And I kept writing her program and then scratching it out because I remember it was a little too expensive. And I was doing this again. And she grabs my hand like this. She goes, "What are you doing?" She goes, I said, "Well, I'm struggling here because I know probably, things are tight and I just don't want to." And she looks at me, she squeezes my hand even harder. And she says, "Look, Sonny," she said, "I came to you for advice, medical advice, my health advice, not my financial advice. So you give me what you think I need, and either I'll say, no, I can't afford it, or I'll say you're crazy or whatever. But I came to you to tell me what I needed, not for you to tell me how much I could spend." And I said, okay, I got it. So I wrote her program. She paid for everything and then left. So a couple of days later, her daughter calls me, the one that referred her. I said, "Wow, it's like my mom's doing much better. She really liked you." And I said, "I feel really bad because I know she probably can't afford it." And we kind of talked about it. She goes, "Why? What did she say?" She goes, "No, she didn't say anything. It was just mostly me." She says, "Look, don't let her looks fool you. She owns half of Santa Monica Boulevard." She says she is not pulling for money. Right? So what does that say? It's like, it's not my job to figure out if they can't or can't afford it. My job is to tell them what I think they need. And then if there's a conversation, then after we can have that conversation. But that really set me straight on everything. And since then, that's exactly what I've done. And I'll tell you, half, I would say maybe, honestly, 2% of anyone will probably say, has said to me, gee, can we keep it down because I'm having, XYZ. And I'm like, of course, and it's never been an issue because they appreciate like, okay, this is what I need to do. I'm ready. I'm willing to do it. Let's go. So in your case, if someone comes in and they're going to need a series of 4, 5, 6, 7 treatments or something like that, you tell them, this is what I see. This is what I recommend. And if there's a conversation then after, there's a conversation then after. As far as pricing is concerned, I think that psychologically, I think people are willing to pay more for more value. Does that make sense? If they know they're getting more in return, they're willing to pay more in return. Yeah. So the psychological effect of buying something on sale or buying something with a discount or buying something as a package psychologically makes more sense because they're getting more in return, right? There was once a wise businessman that said, people always judge me in how much I pay for things. They always think I overpay, but it's not what I pay for it, it's what I get in return that matters, right? So when people come to see you, what's the number one thing that they're expecting is what they're going to get in return for what they're paying, right? So if you're doing a peel and it's $95, what are they getting in return? If it's $50, what are they getting in return? If it's $120, what are they getting in return? It's your job to educate them on what they're getting in return. We're doing this protocol. This is what I found. This is what I recommend. This is what it's going to do for you. Now, remember, we're customizing this because you can't just go down the street. You can't buy anything that's going to help you really on the internet or online. We're doing this as a custom treatment for what's going on right now. And what that does is adding value to what they're paying, right? Now, Tasha's really good at what she does, and I've learned from her because when we used to work together at the center in LA, she used to educate the client as she was doing the treatment. Now, Nancy, we're doing this because I noticed that you need a little more hydration. And now I'm mixing and blending and cocktailing this to really be very specialized in what you need today. Next time they came in, it was different because they've actually moved from where they were. Maybe they were in such crisis with their skin. Maybe they were more hydrated. There was just a lot of shifted, a lot of had turned over and exfoliated. And so now, Nancy, we're going to do more of XYZ. And remember, we're customizing this. We're using the supernatural vitamin A. It's an alternative to synthetic retinol. It's going to continue doing the turnover. So you're educating them as you're doing the treatments. And there's something about receiving information at the time that you're experiencing the information. Does that make sense? It's called learning from mass, right? A kid, you can talk to them, you can explain to them what a tractor is. You can say it's big and this is what it does, and the tires are black, and you find them on farms. Are they really going to understand that? Or take them for a tractor ride and see if they ever forget it, right? That's what I'm talking about. Use this opportunity that you have that is a captive audience, if you will, to allow them to not only learn, experience, but understand the value that they're getting. At that point, they might be willing to pay $500 without any question. Not that they should, but they're willing, right? Yes, you can use this new mask under LED for sure. You can use it with infrared. You can use it with microneedling for sure. You can use it right after any other mechanical exfoliations like microderm, peels, lasers, things like that. Let's see. Yeah, so there was a comment here from the group here. Never decide how to spend your client's money, and that's basically what I'm saying. You know, so if you're doing your job, you're advising them on what they need, and then they can decide if they can or can't. And then there's that's a conversation to be had, and it's and an opportunity to educate them as well. Let's see. I'm sorry, I skipped the face mapping
I'm
question.
trying to find that question.
Do you see it?
What are your thoughts on about the face mapping ideas?
Well, here's the thing. The face mapping ideas originate from Chinese medicine. And I've seen every single map in the world, and they're sometimes different, and sometimes they're glorified, and sometimes they're by celebrities. So it depends which ones you're talking about. I do believe that there is a corresponding area of the face that corresponds to organ systems in the body: liver, heart, intestines, digestive, on and on and on. Yes. I don't know if that's your question in terms of do I think there's validity to it? I think the traditional facial mapping from, say, Chinese medicine and Chinese diagnosing, yes, I think that's definitely something to really, you know, if you're interested in it, to really learn more about it and get really proficient with it, because a lot of times you can just look at someone's face and go, oh, this person has digestive issues, and that's usually around here. This person has a really thick line in the earlobe, that's heart issues. Lines, this very pronounced little lip over here has to do with sex hormones, sex drive, things like that. So there's a lot of information you can kind of get just by kind of looking at people's facial geometry, facial characteristics. So I'm not sure if I answered that question or not. Yeah. So, any other questions? Did you want to share some protocols, Tisha, or?
Yeah. Well, if we're talking about the peel protocols or winter skin protocols, I have two separate things I wanted to discuss. Going into the peel protocols, of course, knowing when to do the peel is important, I'd say, in the protocol. Ideally, I like to let people know you can go ahead and do with our regular peels like glycolic or lacto or sal, you can do a light microdermabrasion, but I prefer that you do the peel first. So it typically, your peels would typically fall before extractions, because you can, between doing the peel and doing one of our masks, particularly the lemongrass mask to disencrust the skin, it really makes half the battle, you know, taken care of as far as extractions go. So ideally you'll do your cleanse, your scrub, then you go into your peel. And then if you wanted to do your microderm, and these are not, we never incorporating Jesner when we discuss the peel. The Jesner is a Jesner. It's done exclusively by itself. You can obviously pre-peel the Jesner, but when you're doing all these modalities, you don't want to stimulate the skin too much prior to Jesner. I've found that can be overwhelming, especially if you're trying to do multiple layers. So when you're doing the peels in a regular weekly basis, it would go cleanse, peel, mask, extract. You could have thrown in the microderm in there. And then, you know, from there you can do your other modalities like microcurrent. Obviously at the very end is when you're going to want to do the signal, the cryo product. And you can either do the nano needling or the micro needling. And it sounds like with the new mask, you could also incorporate that there as well for more rejuvenation. So these can be done on a weekly basis. I've done them up to 12 weeks. So it depends on how much work needs to be done. So that's my basic peel protocol for your regular weekly treatments. You can obviously modify it to, like I said, I had a clear skin protocol, 15 minutes, people were in and out, especially teenagers, you know, people, quick lunch break. And we were able to fill up 3 clients in 1 hour doing those. So it was pretty successful and popular for people who were in a little bit more of a hurry or on a budget. So then the other thing I wanted to discuss is, as far as protocols go, is the dry skin protocols. We don't use the toxic dimethicones at DNA. And so when people are starting to incorporate our moisturizers, they're really, they've become so acclimated to the petroleum-based products that they feel like it's just not enough moisture. And we're going to run into that in the wintertime, especially in high altitudes, in areas where you're going from hot temperature to really cold temperature back into hot temperature. And that can really wreak havoc on the skin. And I want to reiterate, with DNA, you know, our booster drops go a long way as far as rehydrating the skin. So incorporating the Zen therapy is really important in your winter protocols, into your moisturizers, and reminding clients to do that at home, and also the boosters. When I'm in a session and I want to have the client leave with an ooey dooey, I call them the ooey dooey gooeys, the clients who, I don't care if you've given them a freaking facelift. If they don't leave ooey dooey and gooey, you've done a terrible job. And so the way to get them to that level of hydration is to incorporate the Zen and the moisture in the end and the booster. But then at the end, remembering that oil seals in moisture. So then you can take just a little bit more of the booster and apply it over the moisture. And that's where I find that it seals it in and locks it, and it lasts all day. Obviously also incorporating the Hydro Blend or the Floral Bliss, but ideally the Hydro Blend can be used above any product, on top of any product, to really keep sealing in moisture. So those are part of the protocols I wanted to reiterate for winter in particular.
Yeah. Now remember that the product does not have any evaporating ingredients, meaning that if it's on the skin and it absorbs, none of the product is evaporating, right? Because there's no alcohol, there's none of these solvents. So what happens when people use these dimethicones and some of these like gooey, like Tasha says, is that it's just sitting occlusive on your skin. So the question to then ask your clients is this, would you rather have the product sit on your face, or whether you want it absorbed into their skin where it belongs? Now, of course, if it's a dirty product, I wouldn't want it to absorb because you don't want it in your system. However, if it's a good product with vitamins and nutrients and amino acids, you want it in the skin where it actually belongs, where it's interacting with that cell turnover, with that quality of new cell structures that are coming on. So yeah, sometimes you may have to apply it twice. Sometimes you may have to spritz some more stuff. You may have to add stuff, but there comes a point where that skin saturates. And now whatever you're putting extra on that is going to create that ooey dooey thing that they want. But remember, if you put, you know, I've been in trainings where we've used so much product on people that I'm like, they're going to drink it. Their skin's going to drink it, and they just keep adding and see what happens. I mean, it's amazing how much product actually gets absorbed in with DNA products, because the skin recognizes it and it realizes it as resources, which is very, very different than just having a chemical petroleum synthetic product that just sits on your skin. So you want it to interact. You want it to be part of the constitution of your skin. You want it to be part of that cell turnover. And that's part of the education process as well. Now, remember that all DNA products are concentrates, right? You never put a product on without reconstituting it, right? You want to put either distilled water or some of the sprayers that we have, the Floral Bliss or the Hydro Blend, and really reactivate it and recocktail it with whatever you want, and then really put it on. see what it does. And if it absorbs, do another layer. Again, we're not using a lot of product. We're using dime size, one pump at a time, and then it absorbs. And then you can do another one, and then you can do another one, and then eventually it's going to stop. But now it's fully saturated where you want it. And that's the difference between our products, is that they will absorb, they will get in, and they will start to really kind of interact with that, again, that cell turnover. Okay.
Peggy had a question.
Real quick, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So this is just kind of going back. I like to write down everything that you said just because I repeat it to clients. And I just wanted to go over real fast. You were saying that the chemical peels that are out there come from the chemical industries, such as like DuPont, right? And that one of the things that so I want to make sure, oh, I'm muted. No, I'm not. Okay, I want to make sure I repeat it correctly. Those are commercial chemically based solvents and cleansers, right?
Yeah, the chemical industry, which is pretty much ruled by DuPont and Sinclair, these are solvent based. So they make chemicals for cleaning industrial machinery. They make chemicals to clean airport tarmacs, for instance. And so these chemicals are the same chemicals that are used to create paints and thinners. And so the sourcing of these chemicals, these peels that you see that are out there are the same ingredients that are used to make some of these paints and thinners.
Got it. I just want to drive that point home to clients. The other thing I just wanted to ask a quick question over was your Jesner, you're saying it's a combination of the lactic glycolic and salicylic acid, but also paired with antioxidants and anti-inflammatories?
Yeah, yeah. If you look at the ingredients in your menu, you'll see that it has essential oils and it has lycopene. Lycopene is a antioxidant that is mostly offered in the industry right now from tomatoes. It's in the skin of the tomatoes. It was used by Native Americans as sunscreen. So that's where the whole term is that they're redskins, because when they were first met by the white people, they had tomato paste on their face.
Oh, wow. Okay.
As sun protection. Interestingly enough, the hippopotamus has really large pores, and it secretes this red sort of sebum on their skin because they have no hair, right? They should be burnt, living in the savannas and in Africa, but they secrete this red pigmented oil that covers their skin, and it acts as a sun protection. It's being studied right now, but it's interesting that it's also red. So maybe something to do with the red color or the pigment that might be neutralizing some of the harmful rays. I'm not sure, but it's an interesting concept. We get our lycopene from green watermelon seeds, which is less, it's higher quality, if you will. Right? It has more enzymes, it has more concentration. Some people can be reactive to tomatoes, nightshades. So I stay away from the tomato part of it.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then I had one more question and I just totally forgot. So if I remember, I will be back.
My disease.
Actually, it's contagious.
Sorry.
Okay. Let's see. It is 11:50. So if there's any more questions, anything more to add, Tisha?
I remember my question. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's a question you and I've actually spoken to you about, contacted you about, but there's a big influencer in the skincare world who is completely destroying hyaluronic acid. No matter how much I try to reinstill this into my clients that ours is not a synthetically derived one. I've actually communicated with this particular woman in regards to saying maybe what you're saying is that hyaluronic acid, that is a synthetic version, is what's dehydrating skin, sensitizing it, and destroying like the acid mantle and the barrier of the skin. So she's out there saying how it's horrible, and here I am trying to promote it, and I'm having a really difficult time re-educating clients the difference between what's traditionally used in like crap over-the-counter products and what the difference is in ours, because she's letting me, in trying to communicate with her like the differences, and then to my clients, it's been very difficult. So I'm just trying to understand, because I keep trying to express that I don't need to remove this to my clients because they're hearing it from her. They
Right.
don't need to remove the hyaluronic acid from their protocol because it is not what's sensitizing their skin. It's actually benefiting them. If you could help me just with the verbiage, would be phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, let me just ask you, what are her qualifications? Do you know, is she a doctor? Is she a scientist? Is
Oh no,
she-
she's an esthetician who's like very, very well known, written up in publications, magazines, and studies chemistry and travels the world writing all these different, you know, like excerpts in magazines saying how horrible hyaluronic acid is, and that she's been in contact with all these different scientists, and when she tells her clients to remove hyaluronic acid, their skin miraculously heals. So
Well, okay. Well, first of all, if she's not really doing studies or formulating or understands, in this case, culture mediums, then she's basically just regurgitating whatever she's reading or XYZ. So I always consider the source of information, right? So if she was a hyaluronic acid, HA expert that's done studies either with animals or with people, and I'm talking studies, right? Understands the molecular structure of hyaluronic acid, which is a hydrophilic. I mean, it can carry 100 times its weight in hydration. There's a reason why professional athletes have hyaluronic acid injections in their joints, because it acts as a cushion. It acts as an ability to draw hydration and create that ability to absorb stress and shock, regenerate. Because as you're holding hydration and resources in the skin or in the joint, you're saturating that environment with stuff that is good. Now, if you have hyaluronic acid mixed with a bunch of chemicals, then yeah, that's probably not a good idea, because why? That hyaluronic acid is going to absorb all that, take it in and hold it there. So she could be actually reading a feedback of toxicity damaging the cell turnover because of hyaluronic acid being the carrier, right? So now there are some cases where someone has, you know, heavy active acneic skin that has a lot of production, they're oily, they don't need necessarily hyaluronic acid, they need assistance in bringing down the sebum production and healing and exfoliation, right? And then the hyaluronic acid can come in. But I mean, I can show you warehouses full of research and studies on hyaluronic acid. The thing to remember is when your clients present that to you, say, well, you know, I hear what you're saying, but maybe, just maybe, my views on it and my research on it might be more adequate to what I'm seeing with your skin. Because there are studies, there are scientific papers and literature that can validate not only the benefit of hyaluronic acid, but the importance of it as we age. You know, there's less and less available. And so I'm a big proponent of collagen. I'm a big proponent of hyaluronic acid. I'm a big proponent of the cofactors and the precursors to hyaluronic acid. It's not just the hyaluronic acid, and in her case, she's probably thinking of synthetic, heavy molecular weight hyaluronic acid that probably just sits on the face. Again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, do you want it absorbed in your skin or do you want it sitting on the skin, right? So hyaluronic acid, the biggest drawback to synthetic or commercially available collagen or hyaluronic acid is that it just doesn't absorb. It's It's a component of collagen, but it is not the complete precursors, the cofactors to collagen. So if you have really poor quality hyaluronic acid or synthetic, or it's mixed with other chemicals and alcohols and preservatives and all these other things, then yeah, you're not going to have a good experience with that or anything else. So to answer your question, I would say that you would explain to your clients what you know about it and what your experience has been with it and what your results clinically has been with it. You know, there's a difference between academia, people that are running around talking, teaching, you know, that kind of thing. And then there's clinicians like you that are in the trenches, looking at skin, looking at certain skin evaluations, making a big difference, and seeing the results like everyone in DNA has. And then you have other people in academia which are so detached from reality because they're looking at black and white papers, they're looking at XYZ, but they're not really on a day-to-day basis understanding the whole interaction of synthetic versus natural versus amino acids and signaling factors and on and on and on. So it's a very different, it's like comparing apples and oranges, if you will.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah,
Okay.
Can I say something?
absolutely.
You know, that my daughter, an amazing esthetician teacher in Santa Monica, and she addressed this a lot. She said, you know, most companies are using the cheap synthetic because it's really about the bottom line, and they're using a cheap synthetic bacterial derived hyaluronic. And so when I try to talk to people about it, because we had a woman, probably not the same lady, but we had a skeptic at one of our skin 2-day trainings not that long ago, who said this very thing. You know, hyaluronic is actually damaging the skin. It's causing, you know, premature aging. It's really merely nothing but better than a humectant like glycerin would be. And, you know, we learned about the dangers of using too many humectants in aesthetic school because, you know, if you're not in a moisture area, you're not by the ocean, it's going to draw from the body and draw from the skin is what we were taught. So that was her point, but we're using, it's non-vegan. And I mean, doctors talked about it before, we're using actual hyaluronic acid that you would actually medical quality you'd inject into the knee, not some bacterial derived one. So if you add to it the synthetic aspect of this hyaluronic, and then as doctor said, the synthetic aspect of all the other junk they've got in their skincare, you're actually telling it to encouraging it, because it is a humectant to just sit on the skin and be occlusive, and it's going to expedite the damage. So, but I typically would just bring up the fact, no, there's a cheap kind, and then there's the real kind, and you know, we're using the real kind. Her teacher,
there's high molecular weight and there's low molecular weight, and those are just basically the separations of how small the molecular structure is for penetration. But above and beyond that, you need to have the precursors to be able to really synthesize that into the skin. The amino acids that are important to convert the hyaluronic acid into units of building blocks of collagen and elastin. It's not just about absorbing hydration, it's about absorbing a medium that is going to be held there so that your skin can actually use it as it's turning over cells. That's the whole purpose of the HA and some of the products that we use. Forgot something else I was going to say, but
more coffee.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Can I say something about the reaction?
Yes.
Okay, I have a client that before told me they are allergic to vitamin A,
And then after talking and asking a lot of questions, I find out that really wasn't allergic from the vitamin A and from something else she was doing. So that can happen because I like in the following visits, I used the vitamin A just for her to see that she didn't have an allergic reaction to that product.
Mhm.
So it's the same thing, hyaluronic acid, like the Zen, you know, sometimes the person thinks that's what is causing and it's not. And we have to investigate it, what the person is doing and what they are eating to see, you know, if it's really happened or it's just, you know, illusion.
Right. That's a good point. You know, and then I just remembered what I was saying, but that's a good point because there's a lot of things that can be interactive into the whole formula of what's going on, what they're putting on, what they're eating, what they're not, stress levels, dehydration, on and on and on. But one of the things I wanted to also mention is Dr. Perricone, for instance, you know, 15, 18 years ago was pretty much the first guy that started to bring light into the hyaluronic acid, right? And as much as I disagree with a lot of his marketing stuff and the pricing for his product and on and on and on, I do give him credit for really highlighting the hyaluronic acid. So here's a guy that comes from an Ivy League university, is a teacher in dermatology, versus someone that is, you know, an esthetician, saying the opposite. So somewhere in between there is where the real science and the truth lies. But having used this product for so long, and this ingredient, I've seen nothing but amazing results with it. So I think you can educate your clients on what you know and what your experience has been, and not necessarily you know, say that she's wrong or what have you, but say, this is my truth. This is what I know. This is what I've experienced. And, you know, try it out. And I'm sure you're going to be happy with the results. We'll go from there. So, yes, does anyone have anything else?
I just want to mention another thing, Dr. Noel, that like last year, I went to work for Sephora because I wanted to know what do they have out there. And what I was working with the DNA and try to compare, you know, the products. And between all the vitamin A's, all the acids, from all the doctors, you know, the most expensive line and the cheapest line, there is none out there that's compared to DNA. The results, the texture, the feeling, that's none. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, there's a lot that goes on to it, and there really is. And you know, in today's age, I mean, we have to find ways to get this product out to the masses. I mean, we really do. And so reiterating the fact that please don't sleep on the fact that you can now have a shopping cart on your website. Okay. You can have online sales. Everyone on this call, for instance, is a the certified DNA practitioner. Just call the office if you haven't and say, hi, I'm, you know, Maria, I want to get registered to sell online. And that's it. We were going to do this whole kind of legal contract and all that. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just make it easy. This is a small industry. If someone's doing something they're not supposed to, we'll find out. You know, it's just what it is. It's on the honor system. Just keep the prices above suggested or at suggested retail price, and we're good. So I think that that's a very smart way to start to lean in this age of COVID. I also believe that the more interaction that you have with your clients, as far as checking in with them, doing maybe some virtual consultation, shipping some product out, and like Tisha said, a lot of people are still sort of seeing people, and it's just what it is, you know. I mean, I believe that every industry, every work, every job is essential. Why? Because that's how we make a living. That's how we pay our bills. That's how we feed our children and our families. So I'm one that believes in exactly that. So again, the one things I want to leave you guys with is something that that I want you to also think about, and that is implementing the peels into your system are very important to make the clinical changes that you need to maximize your time and leverage in what you're doing. It really transforms people's practices. And in this time of COVID, you know, stay positive, stay mentally healthy, stay grounded. Really find the thing that makes you feel connected to nature, connected to your family, connected to yourself. I know that right now things seem really weird and different and stuff like that, but like everything else in history, it will eventually pass. Get a meditation practice, a prayer practice, set goals, focus on being relevant in this world, even if it is just for yourself. You lead by example, and you make a difference. And again, even if it's with yourself, that's a huge, huge, huge difference. Implement some quiet time, some meditation, some movement, and spend as much time as you possibly can. I know sometimes it's different and it's hard in nature. But again, stay mentally strong, because this is definitely, you know, a long-term situation that none of us know where it's going to end up. These Zoom classes is what we have. We are going to have more and more of them, different subjects, things that are relevant. If you want anything covered, please let us know, because we can go ahead and implement that into our Zoom classes. As soon as this mask is available, we're going to send everyone samples. You guys can play with it. Tell me what you think. What else? That's it from North Idaho for me. How about Tisha? Anything in closing?
No, that all sounds amazing. Thank you for your wisdom and guidance.
Well, let me show you guys where I'm at. Just want to give you a little peek of what my inspiration is, and I want everyone to have an inspiration no matter what it is. This is my view talking to you guys. I don't know if you can see that. You guys see it?
Gorgeous.
This is my office this morning. But
Absolutely beautiful.
I want you guys to just stay connected. This is a community of professionals. This is a community that inspires each other. And I think that if I was where I was, I wouldn't be as still driven and as focused. But nature for me is what gives me energy, what gives me stability, and the ability to just say, there's a world there that is still doesn't give a crap about what's going on politically or what's going on medically. It's there for us to really, really lean into it and draw from it, whether it's community or whether it's nature or whether it's, you know, doing that on the inside of each other, because that's where everything starts. So stay mentally healthy, stay grounded, stay connected, and we'll see you here in a few weeks.
Can I
Thank
just
you.
ask in for 1 second? Sorry.
Thank you.
I just add something real quick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just as far as our price points are concerned, so this is like a little marketing strategy for me. I work with just DNA exclusively as far as product lines, and I'm happy that we get to sell it online and via our social media kind of market it. And I definitely agree with, like, let's not undercut each other, especially on a social media platform or our online platform. But I think one of the ways that we could have a sale on products, even when DNA is not doing a sale, is to capture your clients or your audience's emails. And then separately, you can maybe promote an insider sale so that it seems like an exclusive sale. It's a way to get rid of overstocked products or products that you feel like you've had a little bit of a long time. So you can have maybe an insider sale via your emails, not spreading that on social media to promote your products. That's
Yeah,
all.
and that's good. I mean, I encourage that. And that's okay. I think going back to what I said about value, right? So people will spend more money. Look at Black Friday, right? How many sales were in? I mean, my inbox, I was deleting probably 100 emails every hour on sales and Black Friday this and Black Friday that. And what it is, it's like, yeah, I mean, if I like a product and I'm kind of interested in it, I might, buy more of it because I'm getting more in return. Whether I'm doing early Christmas shopping, or something that I need. But yeah, that's a good example. Be creative, be engaging, stay in communication with them, check in on your clients, let them know what's going on. Let them know that you're still available to chat, to maybe assess. Some of the most successful people right now are doing virtual stuff, virtual consultations. They ship out product. They talk to their clients, and in some cases they're like, this is a lot easier than when I was bent over for 12 hours a day doing facials, because at the end of the day, this is what I'm making, and yet I'm in my pajamas or I'm at home, and it's not so bad. So, but these are people that have really kind of embraced this new change and have really taken the bull from the horns and says, look, I'm not going to fall behind. I'm going to make this work. So I just encourage you guys to not be shy and to just really kind of move forward, because everyone's in the same boat. Everyone is having to do what they can with what we have. And this is not anything different than what they're experiencing with other ways of purchasing, other ways of doing business, right? So Sherry, how's Pennsylvania?
It's
Yeah.
good. We are looking out. This is a mountain behind me.
Yeah.
And there was a red fox on it today. And yesterday there was a cardinal and all kinds of sparrows. So it's nice.
Good. Are you adjusting well?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
A little bit homesick. Can't lie about that.
Sherry's from Ventura as well, and we kind of both left at the same time. And I'm looking at my weather app. I'm like, dang it, it's 80 degrees in Ventura. What? But you know what? I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now. This is home for me. So, all right,
I'm glad
guys.
you like it.
Blessings. I love everyone. Thank you. Stay relevant. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.